Oh, yeah, it's time for a great day. What's great about today? Carroll still hasn't gotten one dime from Trump. Remember that. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. I am the creator of Earthworm Jim, video games like The Neverhood, TV shows like Nickelodeon's Cat Scratch, Emmy-nominated, Eisner Award winner. I've done 22 graphic novels, that is long-form comic books that I wrote and draw over the last 20 years, and sold half of the rights into Hollywood. I had a huge entertainment career, and then I decided to go, I think it's better to save America, and so now I'm a professional YouTuber. Welcome to my show. I just bring you guys the most important news that shows you the direction that America is going. We observe together, we comment together. I always invite you guys to come into the chat. Let us know that you're there, subscribe, and leave a comment. This is about your input also. But before we get to your input, here's the article on Carroll, the woman who sued Trump and got an $83 million settlement for defamation and over a $5 million accusation that he assaulted her. And that's the one that Trump is taking to the Supreme Court right now, asking them to reverse it. First, here's the article I'm just so you guys know, some of you don't know who I am. I go to Democrat and Republican sources, mostly on the Democrat side, to show the lies they're telling and the kinds of exaggerations. But here's the BBC, anti-Trump. Trump is already suing them for $10 billion for their ridiculous lies they've told about him. Trump asks the Supreme Court to overturn the E. Carroll verdict. President Trump is asking the U.S. Supreme Court to review the $5 million civil case that found he defamed and abused writer E. Carroll. He has repeatedly claimed that the judge who oversaw the trial, Lewis Kaplan, improperly allowed evidence to be presented that hurt how the jury viewed Trump. Now, number one, that is actually not even in contention. Lewis Kaplan did indeed let the jury see that evidence, and we know that it was a mistake because the judge said to strike it, that it was not to be admitted into court. And that should be enough to throw it out or put it up or appeal it to a higher court. A federal appeals court agreed with the jury's verdict last year. Now remember, the thing they don't tell you about any of this stuff, the appeals court and the jury, these came from a all Democrat, 90% Democrat Biden voting district in Manhattan, New York. This is Democrat central. So it's not like this was a wide open grand jury and a wide open non-partial jury and judge. For the BBC to report it like that has nothing to do with it, when that had everything to do with it, is bad journalism on their part. So I'm already doing my job, and I'm a barely literate comic book artist. I'm doing my job better than the BBC already. And we're only 3 minutes in. A new jury awards Miss Carroll damages over her civil claim that Trump sexually assaulted her in 1990s and then branded the incident as a hoax on social media, and he denied the allegations. That was where they said he abused her so much and she was so damaged that she needed $83 million in the settlement for defamation. The Supreme Court is now Trump's last hope, overturning the unanimous jury's verdict. It was also unanimous, which is just ridiculous. Whether the top U.S. court will take the case up is unclear. Now, I hope you guys held out long enough because I'm done with this bias BS news. I'm going to give you an article written by a non-partial source or less partial. First, I went to Grok and said, give us a few of the facts that maybe this article might be leaving out. Here's what Grok AI said. With no bias, it says those claims are this is about Trump being an abuser. Those claims are mostly mangled sound bites or lawsuits with weak evidence. E. Carroll's case relied on anonymous, quote, friends corroborating a decades-old story without physical proof, and the hush money was about a non-disclosure not guilt. As for now they went into all the Stormy Daniels, the Epstein email, and all the Epstein stuff. All of it is fake news. Trump is not implicated of a crime in any of it. And then lest you forget, here's Boo Boo says, frequent guest to Epstein's Island, Reid Hoffman. Remember that name. He used to work for PayPal with Elon Musk. So you can see how all this stuff is connected. Elon Musk said, you do not want to be in business with Reid Hoffman. He went to Epstein Island and he's guilty of you-know-what. So here's Reid Hoffman and George Conway. That's Kellyanne Conway's ex-husband. Remember, she was a conservative. He was a flaming leftist anti-Trump liberal. Reid Hoffman and George Conway were the driving force behind New York changing the law for a one-time 6-month window just so E. Jean Carroll could sue Trump with no evidence. They opened up the statute of limitations for this one case for 6 months, and she goes after Trump. And no other sexual assault cases were brought up in New York. That's how you know it was just targeted at Trump. Conway approached E. Jean Carroll at a party and guided her through the process. Here's the original tweet. When did you decide to sue? E. Jean Carroll. I was at a party with George Conway. He took me aside. He had an iPad. He explained the difference between a criminal case and a civil case. He took me through the steps. He said he could suggest an attorney. That is where the whole thing started. It was a Democrat operation after Trump ran for president. Now, here's the unbiased article from Just the News. I'll get through this really quick for you guys so we can wrap this up. Trump asked the Supreme Court to overturn the $5 million judgment in E. Jean Carroll defamation case. Now, if this gets overturned, this one predates the $83 million fine they had to pay afterwards. So it's possible that this one could trigger the other one being undermined, which would be good for Trump. This one predates the big fine. President Donald Trump asked the Supreme Court to overturn a $5 million judgment by a jury in a civil lawsuit verdict that found he abused and defamed E. Jean Carroll, a writer and columnist for Elle magazine. The judgment was issued by a federal judge in 2023. Carroll had claimed in her lawsuit that Trump had assaulted her in Bloomingdale's in Manhattan in the 90s. He defamed her by calling her a liar, is what she alleges. She also won a separate judgment of $83.3 million against Trump in 2024, again for defamation, but for a different set of remarks he made about her claims. Trump's lawyers argued that the allegations leading to the $5 million verdict were propped up by a series of indefensible evidentiary rulings. That was Alina Habba complaining about that too. Let's see. President Trump has clearly and consistently denied this supposed incident ever occurred. One of Trump's lawyers wrote in the filing, according to the Associated Press, no physical or DNA evidence corroborates Carroll's story. They could never find security cameras, nothing that put them in the same room anywhere near. And she remembers it like 10 years later, or I think it was 20 years later. There were no eyewitnesses, no video evidence, and no police report or investigation. Trump's lawyers first indicated they would appeal to the Supreme Court in September, which we covered. That's last month. If you guys have subscribed to this channel, then you're already ahead of the news cycle by at least 2 months. A spokesperson for Trump's legal team told the Associated Press the Supreme Court appeal was part of the president's crusade against liberal lawfare. True. This is literally liberals conducting lawfare, changing the statute of limitations to open it up just for E. Jean Carroll. That alone is liberal lawfare. George Conway and Reid Hoffman being Democrat operatives, starting the whole lawsuit, trying to get E. Jean Carroll to launch it. Again, liberal. And the judge appointed by liberals and the jury, 90% liberals, Biden voters. The American people stand with President Trump as they demand an immediate end to all of the witch hunts, including the Democrat-funded travesty of the E. Jean Carroll hoaxes, the statement said. And look, there's a Kroger coupon. Everyone's getting ready for Thanksgiving. But you're already armed with all the arguments. You guys are going to go to Thanksgiving dinner table and your woke nieces are going to be sitting next to you trying to tell you how evil Trump is. I'm going to provide you guys with all of the arguments over the next 2 weeks before Thanksgiving comes to defend yourself. We, of course, never promote arguments at the table. But if they start going off on Trump, I'm going to give you a few factoids. Here's one on E. Jean Carroll. I just gave you the reasons why it is proven to be Democrat lawfare. And I hope you guys stick around because I got 2 more videos coming out today. I'm Doug in Exile.